then when Misty was born, of course, most of you that know Misty know that she was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And when she was in the hospital at 8 months, I was there. I would not leave her alone in the hospital. And so I would stay with her. And of course, I'm such a social butterfly that I would never be alone. And I would visit with everybody that was in there. And there was this one woman. She was very, very attractive. But she was sitting outside a chair outside of the isolation room. And her baby was in there in an isolation tent. And she had to go, she could only go in for 10 minutes every hour. And the rest of the hour she would sit out there and look at him. And I thought, oh, that's got to be just the most worst thing you can imagine. And they had tested Misty for dwarfism, and they tested her for heart conditions, and they tested her for hormone things and growth things. Everything came back negative. And I went over there one day with Misty and sat next to her and asked if I could talk to her. And she said, oh yeah, I've been waiting for you to come and talk to me. I want to tell you about my boy. And she began to tell me everything about cystic fibrosis and the goods, the bads, and the uglies, and how God had protected her son and how he had brought him through time and time again. He had brought him through. And she said, all you got to do is go with God. He'll take you through it. And I said, well, they already tested her for cystic fibrosis. That's not what she has. And she just nodded and looked at me. She was a tall lady, probably taller than Katie. And she had long, straight black hair. I called it crystal gale hair. Long, long, straight black hair. And it just shined. And it was just beautiful. And I spent hours with her that week waiting for Misty's test results to come back. No, it's not this, it's not that. And the next day they'd test her for something else. It's not this, it's not that. Well, I already knew that it wasn't CF, but I wanted to know more about this CF. I'd never heard of it before. And she said, she just told me everything I could ever want to know. And I was so relieved that Misty did not have CF because I didn't want that for her. Oh, that was going to be awful. And so she would continue to guide me and talk to me and always pray. And she had these little songs that she would sing, which I know now are hymns. Many of those hymns, the old ones, the good ones. And then one day, they asked me to take Missy back to the lab. They were going to retest her for CF. I'm like, okay, we've been here 10 days and you haven't figured it out yet. You're going to start over. And so they did. They started over and tested her for that. And that night they came in, and a whole group of them came in and said, well, we're pulmonologists, we're lung doctors, and we're specialists in this and that and the other. And her test came back positive for CF. I went, oh, no, you got to be kidding. No, it finally came back positive. She was not properly tested the first time, so we did the more advanced test this time, and it's positive. And I thought, oh, my goodness. My first thought was, it can't be. And my second thought was, where is she? I didn't even get her name. And I looked that evening, and she wasn't out there on the bench, and her baby was not in the isolation unit. So I started writing her a letter, long letter with all my questions, and how I needed her to help because Misty came back positive. And I went to the nurse's desk and I said, I need to get a letter to another patient that was here, but they're gone, and I know you can't reveal their personal information. I know you can't tell me anything about it, but if I sign the letter and seal it in this envelope, can you use your records? And oh yeah, she said, we do that all the time. We'll send you a letter. And they said, who was it that you wanted to talk to? And I said, the woman that was right here. And they looked at me and they said, the woman? I said, the really tall lady with the long black hair, you couldn't miss her. And her baby was in isolation. And she turned her schedule book around to me and she said, I want you to turn back the pages. And it shows the names of patients in beds. And she said there was never anybody in isolation. There was never anybody there. And I said, well, you saw me talk to her every day. I sat right here just 10 feet from the nurse's desk, and I talked to her, and she played with Misty. I said, you and Misty sat there on that bench, but you were always alone. We couldn't figure out why you were sitting there and who you were talking to. And I was like, oh. And that's my second realization, that I had seen an invisible angel. God had planted her there. Just to get me through. And again, I said, who am I that he would care that much? I knew who it was. I knew how much he loved me.